it was a very scary time. It was during COVID, during the lockdown, when they were hardly letting people into Canada. If I kept delaying, I might not have taken that plunge to come here.
Right.
We weren't thinking about ourselves. We were thinking about our then 2-3-year-old. They look for the in-demand occupations and try to get in if you have the qualification. I would say 5,000 or 4, 5 to 5,000 might be it per month. That's
In
a lot.
expense.
In expenses. Everything
Jeez.
together.
Welcome back to my channel, guys, and as you can tell, today we're doing things a bit different. We have Nicola here with us, and Nicola is a Jamaican who left Jamaica, came to Canada, and she did something that a lot of people are actually finding it very, very difficult to do these days in Canada, but she's going to tell us more about that. So let's go. Nicola, so we know them always say that no way at all no better than yard, which is true for the most part.
Yes.
So my first question is, what made you decided to pretty much, leave your lifestyle behind in Jamaica, took your family, and came to Canada?
I think that's a very easy answer. Simply because we weren't thinking about ourselves. We were thinking about our then 2-3-year-old. So we decided, based on how things were going, maybe lack of certain opportunities, we felt that coming to Canada to see how things are, if it would be a better experience. And I have friends here that came as a friend that came as a student initially, and in a short space of time they became permanent residents. So they were encouraging us, and we felt that it was time to see how it worked out for us.
Oh, nice. That's really good. That's kind of the reason why a lot of people pretty much leave Jamaica to go abroad, just to see if they can find different opportunities. Some people just want to travel and, see different places.
True.
And we know Canada is a beautiful country, so, that's really nice. I mean, the first days in Canada can it can be very daunting. It can feel surreal. You're here, you don't know anybody at all. It's your first time in Canada. It might be your first time traveling. What was that feeling like for you?
Well, it wasn't my first time traveling at all, but definitely first time in Canada. And the time that I did the move initially, it was a very scary time. It was during COVID, during the lockdown, when they were hardly letting people into Canada, and I knew that I had school in January, so I was even contemplating putting off school and probably starting classes online. That was back I started school in January 2021. So where we were living at the time, we had frequent power cuts, and the option was there to have classes online, but my friend was encouraging me to come, because if I kept delaying, I might not have taken that plunge to come here.
Right.
Yeah. So I got encouragement, and that kind of made it a little bit more easy, although in the back of my mind I was going to have to leave my family. So it wasn't the best or the easiest decision, but I had to do what I had to do.
How did you get through being in a new country in the pandemic, not being able to go out much? Probably for the most part you were inside and so on. How did you handle that?
That was pretty easy for me, because I say I'm an introvert.
Right.
A lot of people will say the opposite because of how things are. I talk to a lot of people now with the support group that we have, but it wasn't like I was missing out on anything, because for the most part I stayed inside of the house anyway from back in Jamaica. So coming here, it was the same thing. Classes were online. Most things were on lockdown. Businesses were operating at a minimal in terms of having people come in person. So it was pretty easy. And then it became very hard to transition back into going out, doing things like going back to the
Right.
norm.
Yeah, so work from home for sure. We're not going back in the office.
If I had a say, no.
One of the biggest challenges for like a lot of new immigrants here, new to Canada, fresh off the runway, it's finding somewhere to live,
Yeah.
right? Because when you just come here, you don't have any credit, you don't have any what they call it, referral. You pretty much don't know anybody, right? So landlords see you and they're like, "We're not sure you can afford this," How did you navigate finding housing, finding somewhere decent to live in those initial days?
Well, how things worked out for us is that I was living with a friend of mine in another
Okay.
province for 6 months. And then my family came here and we had to make that decision. We're going to go on our own soon because they were talking going back to normal, and that meant classes would have been in person, and we felt that it was time for us to go on our own. So we started the journey of house hunting, and it was pretty challenging, especially being in another province. And I guess we got the feeling of what people experience from being in their home countries trying to find a place in the
Right.
city that they want to live. And we got a lot of, I guess you'd call it ghosting. We tried on Facebook Marketplace initially, and I think that's where we did most of our search. A lot of the landlords or persons advertising the spaces didn't respond to us. We got a lot of, oh, the space is not big enough for your family, because
Yeah.
it was three of us.
Same.
And in Jamaica, you can be in one room and it's perfectly fine. Because for a period of time when we had to scale down, moved from where we were living, we went to a studio space to cut down on rent. So we were okay with that living arrangement because we knew it wasn't going to be for a very long time. And we were okay doing that coming here, but they said you need at least a 2 bedroom. So even persons that did respond to us, they said our space is not big enough for you. They wanted us to show that we had funds or somebody was working, you have credit, and all of those things. And we didn't have those except
Right.
money, some amount of money in the bank account. But it eventually worked out where we have a friend that's living here with in the same city that we're now, and he helped a lot where he did the viewings for us. If we found a place and the person said you can come and view, we just explained we're not yet in the province, we have somebody that can do the viewing for us, and they said okay, and he would say no, not that one, it doesn't look that
Right.
good in person. Yes, go ahead with that. We had to pay a deposit, and it was I guess a very daunting experience because we weren't sure, was this a legit place
Right,
that somebody
right,
was
yep.
was
As we
offering
know,
for
there's
rent.
there's a lot of scam,
Yes.
around here.
So it worked out because at the time that the friend did the viewing for us, he saw other tenants and he
Right.
called the person aside. Is that your landlord? Do you live here? And we kind of got the response that made us a little more comfortable, even though when we were doing the transfer we were still a bit reluctant, but it worked out.
All right. So you found this place on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What are some other platforms that newcomers can use to find somewhere to live?
Well, what I know of is Kijiji. There
Okay.
is Craigslist, and other sites. Persons can even utilize property management services where they own a building and they have units, apartments, and so forth for rent. But in everything, especially when it comes to house hunting, just being intentional or more diligent in trying to find out if this is a scam. Look for anything that might be a red flag, and most times they are. So just be very careful with what some of the questions that they're asking, some of the information they're asking for, and some of the things that seem too good to be true.
Yeah, usually they are.
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace is what worked for me as well. And what I like about Facebook Marketplace is that a lot of the people on there, the landlords, they're usually the owners. So
Right.
sometimes they don't worry so much about like credit. They might look at your bank account and so on,
Yes.
but sometimes they don't worry too much about like, yeah, you need to have this credit before we rent you our place. So that's really good.
That's true. And just to make a quick point, the landlord that we got, he was pretty chill.
That's
So a
nice.
lot of the things that others would have asked for, like a credit check, significant proof that you have funds in your bank
Right.
account, that wasn't him. And it was a very good experience or deal, if you want to put it that way, because it was month to month. So we weren't
yeah,
tied
that's
into
good.
a lease, and he was laid back.
That's
So
really good.
I think we got a good opportunity for our first space.
Yeah, that's good. We know you went to UCW, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we know student life can be really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Trying to juggle school and maybe a part-time job. You have your family, kids, and your own selfish personal interests. How did you go about juggling school and family?
Ah,
Or I should ask how you're still juggling family lifestyle and work and everything, but we know more so it's more difficult with school. So
yeah.
how did you handle that?
As a student, that was the main reason why I came here, why we came here, my family. So we initially didn't want certain jobs, a particular type of job for my husband. We were looking at work from home or him going back into IT, what he was doing from back home. But that was not our reality, and I think we initially had to just settle for whatever we could have gotten, and it worked out that it allowed him to work at night. So he got an opportunity to choose if he wanted to work the day shift or work the night shift. And the reality is that school would have been majority of the time during the day,
Right.
and I preferred day classes as opposed to night classes. So he worked at nights. I did school mainly in the days, and we just worked it out that when I'm home doing school, doing assignments, I'm there with our now 5-year-old. At the time, he was 3, 4. It wasn't the easiest thing at all, but we remained focused on why we came here. The fact that school, I have to get that degree so that eventually we can apply for PR and to get that permanent residency status. So we just did what we had to do. It was a challenge. I had to rely on the tablet a lot, where I'm in a class and my son comes, he wants to talk to me, he wants to say something, and I'm like, son, I'm sorry, mommy can't talk to you right now, I'm in class.
Yeah.
Mommy can't talk now because I'm doing an assignment. I can't play with you because
Yeah,
I'm doing
definitely,
school.
definitely.
So it was a challenging experience, but we knew it wouldn't last forever. So we kind of took comfort in that, knowing that I would eventually be done with that and can spend more time with him. I was worried about him not learning some of the things that he should learn, because at least he should have known his ABC,
definitely.
spend time with him to get him a little prepared to go to school. But that didn't happen as we would have liked it to, but it all worked out.
Nice. It's kind of interesting of it's kind the impact,
impact,
right? The
yeah.
impact that leaving your family, especially if you have a child behind, the impact that it can have on them. So the real point is, if you're coming to Canada, try to bring your family with you.
Yeah, definitely. But there are a lot of things or factors that you have to take into consideration when you choose to bring your family. But if you can take your family with you on in the initial stages, I would say do it, because that time apart, it's hard. It can break the family if you're not intentional in keeping up with daily conversations. If we didn't have a smartphone and WhatsApp, I don't know how we would have survived.
Right.
We had a lot of conversations, a lot of hours. I'm doing my schoolwork or in class sometimes, and the camera is off, and my family's on the phone. And I bought a little clip, I don't remember what it's called, and I would put the phone, clip it on the desk and put the phone there, and they're talking to me, and I am doing my assignment, or I'm in a class and my son wants to play. And his mommy, look at this, and he's showing me, and he wants to play, physically play with me. And sometimes I'm not even paying him the attention that he wants. And he gets upset, and he would even stop talking to me. And I'm like, what's happening, son? You're not talking to mommy. He's bringing it to my attention that he's talking to me, and I'm not paying attention to him. And I know he's there, but I'm not remembering. Oh, you just put away the assignment for a minute and have that conversation. Although it's not physical, play with him.
Right.
See how best you can. And even my husband, there are times when he wanted to talk and I had class or I was busy doing an assignment. And if we didn't remember why we were here, it could have caused a negative impact on our marriage.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Know that you're out of school and your time kind of free up a little bit. You still have work, right? But
Yeah.
What are some of the activities that you're enjoying now with your family and your son and so on? Because we know Canada is very family friendly. You have a lot of parks. Most places have like a park just a few minutes away from home. So how are you finding that?
Well, now it's easier if you want to just get up and go, to maybe go to the park, as you mentioned, go out and go shopping or go grab a meal or something. That flexibility as a student, I didn't have it as much. And sometimes even with work, you feel like, oh, I don't have the time right now. You're done with work for the day and you're tired. You just want to rest or whatever. But having to set that time aside is really important. And I think just making making time is what it is. And it's still not easy, because when you have your weekend, you just want to relax because you're thinking about the next week. So I guess in general, we just have to put that time aside. Maybe say, okay, on a Saturday, we're going to do this and do that. And it's just spending more time with the child, especially helping with whatever, although they don't really get homework a lot, but just ensuring that you spend time to ensure they get what they need to get. They learn the ABCs better, they learn how to read, the extra time, and just use that, I guess, as bonding time for you.
Nice. What was school like at UCW?
What it was like?
Because it depends on the program that you do. Some schools, some programs can be a bit more challenging, but then again, some schools are a bit more facilitating as well. So how was school?
In general, I had a really good experience.
Nice.
As with every institution that you attend, you will find certain things that might not be what you were expecting. But I find that the experiences of the instructors, they were good, especially the ones that I think most of them had Canadian work experience of some sort. maybe except one, but they had a lot of industry experience
That's
that
what I
they
like.
could have bring across in
Right.
the classroom. They had many examples they could use when they were teaching the lesson or facilitating the lesson. I had really good instructors that impacted me in a positive way where they built me. And even though they're teaching you something specific to what you need to learn for when you go into the working world, or to go into that field that you want to go into, the motivation, the encouragement that you get when they see that you're a good student, some of them, you will get that extra encouragement from, and the impact they tell you that you're a good student,
Right.
that
Yeah,
felt
that's
good, you
that's
know.
really nice. Yeah, that's
And
really nice.
I think in general, the courses exposed me to a whole lot that I did not know, as well as some things that I knew from before, but it built me. And now I'm working in a field that I specialized in HR. I have a job that is related to HR. So I know that some of those, the information that I learned, some of the skills that I learned from doing the assignments, the group work, and so forth, it has helped me now. The critical thinking. A lot of the courses emphasize critical thinking, and as a business program though, I think that was the most challenging part for me, seeing that I don't like math or any quantitative course. It's any
Yep.
quantitative course. So I struggled a bit with like finance, accounting courses, but I had Jamaican friends in the program that helped to motivate me and push me along, and then you develop friendships and connections, and that was really important. I have persons, even yesterday, somebody that I was in one class with, he reached out to me just checking in and
Nice.
wanting to meet up. So you get what you call that, network. You network with a lot of people from different countries. It was a good experience in general.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that leads us into what I want to go into next, which is, you go to school. After school, the next best thing to do, or the next most important thing to do, is to get a job.
Yeah.
Because you know that if you come here on a 1 year study permit, then you're going to get a 1 year PGWP
Yes.
upon completion. Or if you come here on like a 2 year study permit or more, you're going to get a 3 years PGWP upon completion. So depending on which, but it doesn't even matter. It's very important to get a job immediately, so you
After,
can
right.
start accumulating that 1 year work experience. So you can look forward to PR.
Right.
So how was the job hunting, and what strategy did you use, if any, to get a job? Actually, how long did it take you to get a job after completing school?
Well, I'm not good at math, so I would just say that I finished my studies in July 2022,
Okay.
and by September 6, 2022,
Oh man, that's
I
just like
started
2
working
months.
full time. So
That's good. That's
it was.
nice.
I can say that our journey so far, it has been blessed. We prayed a lot. We just did what we had to do to get where we want to go. And I think job hunting can be a very stressful period, filled with anxiety, and I think that's what I encountered, because coming to Canada, being in Canada and job hunting, that generic resume that we're used to,
Yeah.
putting every single thing, even from high school, which should be on your resume,
Definitely.
the high school that you're going to. That's not what you do here to get a decent job. So I dreaded the activity of tailoring my resume, of applying to the jobs. There were times when I just clicked on easy apply, which is not the best option. If you're putting out a job application, it's always good to do a cover letter and to tailor your resume to fit that job,
That specific
to fit
job.
the specific job description. And I found that it was very challenging to do. I applied for some government positions as well, or with government organizations, and those job applications were so hard. You spent maybe an hour or more filling in information, and it half the time you probably won't hear back, or you may hear back in a year, because even when I started working maybe 9 months in, I'm still getting
Calls from
well,
previous
not
application.
calls, but note updates to say
Okay.
we're no longer considering your application.
Okay.
Because I think most of the times they're looking for permanent residents and Canadian citizens. But in a nutshell, the job hunting process was hard. And for me, it wasn't that hard, simply because I think it was just favor how I got the job that I have now. And I just went on LinkedIn, saw someone post that they started a position at UCW, and I liked it because I felt that UCW was taking steps to make improvements to ensure that their faculty, their instructors, have a department or a team that is specific to them to cater to their needs and to the anything pertaining to them. And I'm like, oh, nice. And I clicked like. And maybe a day or two after that, I got an email from that person that posted
Nice.
the job post that he's starting that new role at UCW, sending me a job description to say, are you interested in this job? I'm recruiting for this position. I guess because I had on that banner to say open to work. He looked at that, and it's a HR related role, and I specialized in HR, and it's important to update your LinkedIn profile to ensure that whatever job you are looking for,
Right.
it's specific, it's tailored, similar to your resume. And those things were on my LinkedIn profile, and I had a copy of my resume on there with my email address. So he was able to get that information, send
out
me
to
an
you.
email to say, hey, are you interested in this job? And I looked at it, although it wasn't a permanent position, I decided to take a shot, and it worked out because the job turned into a full-time role because
Nice.
you go there, you do your work, they see the value in
Right.
you, and they decide to extend. So it wasn't a very long period of job hunting, but I did have days when I did not send out any job applications because the process was so challenging.
Yeah, that's really good because I've heard from persons saying that they've had to apply for 1,000 jobs
Jobs.
before they get one. So
Yeah.
so to get a job within like 2-3 months upon completion of your studies, definitely not bad.
No.
And we were talking earlier before we started filming, and we were saying that, you know, in Jamaica we always say that links run things. And if you don't have the links at Jamaica, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah,
That is true in Jamaica,
it is.
but that's even a bigger truth here
More
in
true.
Canada. You better know somebody. I
Yes.
mean, in Jamaica we call it links, but here it is called networking. I'm sure we refer to it in some occasions in Jamaica as networking as well.
Yeah.
But here it's just strictly networking, and it's really good to, you know, maybe go to networking events.
It is.
Try to keep connection with even like your previous lecturers, whoever
Yeah.
the case may be. Whoever you meet, you're out there, you meet somebody, you find out that this person is in this particular industry. Let the person know what you're about, what you're interested in, and you never know, that person might be the person to help you to get the kind of job that you're looking for. So
Yes.
and you did mention that earlier, so that's a big
Right.
part of the job hunting process here
It is.
in Canada as well.
It is.
You know, so yeah, that's nice. So we've seen the TikTok videos and the IG videos. We've seen people complaining about, you know, the cost of living in Canada,
Yes.
right? You maybe I feel it. Me, I feel it.
Maybe I am feeling it.
You know, we hear from our peers, you know, how challenging it is to really make ends meet here in Canada these days. How are you finding that, and what strategy are you using, if any, to make sure that, you know, you tie up all the little loose ends, them maybe budgeting, maybe trying to make sure you don't, you know, live above your means. What's up with that? How are you finding that these days?
Well, I think most, if not all, persons living in Canada now, they say it's a recession. I don't even know. Everything is expensive. That's in my view. There's hardly anything that you would say is affordable. But what is important is, as you touched on earlier, budgeting, trying your best to stick to a budget and save. It doesn't matter how small the amount is. Build your savings and look into doing any investments if you can. What we do is to put aside an amount from every paycheck. We get paid bi-weekly. So we put aside an amount and we ensure that when we're spending, especially when it comes to buying food, which is essential, we try not to spend too much. And we look for places to shop that you would think or assume that you're getting a deal.
Right.
So that's important. If you buy in bulk, that will definitely help. Maybe buy at Costco. You mentioned also not living above your means, and that is
Very
something,
important.
a song that I will sing to not do. Not come and, because you can get things quite easily, especially when your credit is okay, is decent. Try not to jump on every free, quote unquote, or zero down bandwagon that's out there. Don't rent a house or a space that is too expensive. What else? If you can cook instead of buying out, eating out, fast food, buy your groceries and cook, because most times your meal, even if it's for the week, if people do that, I do that, or cook for a few days
Meal prep
at a time. Cooking at home will save you a lot more than if you choose to do fast food or dine out very often. What else? Seeing if you can, one job in Canada I don't think is enough. And I'm realizing
that's scary.
I am realizing that now. My manager I would say had, because there's a recent restriction that she had to let go of one of her jobs.
Okay.
She was doing 3 jobs for a period of time. And that's just to be comfortable. Not saying that one job can't do, but if you want to save more money, if you want to be able to afford the things that you want, if you need a car, you might have to do more than one jobs. And I'm personally not willing to do that, but it works. I know people here that have 2 or 3, and it makes them a little bit more comfortable. They can afford the things that they want, maybe not necessarily luxury, but because cost of living in Canada is very expensive, it's important to try to do multiple jobs if you're able to.
Yeah, that's actually very important. That you said a lot a while ago. I mean, especially again for new immigrants, it's very important to even try to live in a city or even a province where it's not so expensive. Because we're in BC and it's mad expensive over here, and other places like Ontario, you know, the GTA area, Greater Toronto area, those places, Vancouver, very expensive. So as a student, it would be wise to go to a city where housing, especially because that housing can easily eat out 50% of your
Of the
income,
money, yeah.
right?
Yes.
So, but just to put all of this into context, you don't necessarily have to mention exactly what your rent is, but around what ballpark, maybe 1,500 to 1,800. What's a typical food bill like?
Okay.
Entertainment, roughly how much we're looking at?
All right. I would say 5,000 or 4, 5 to 5,000 might be it per month. That's
In
a lot.
expense.
In expenses. Everything
Jeez.
together. But it depends on how often you even go to the supermarket. Because you say you go once a month, but there are certain things that
Right,
you
top
have
up.
to top up every week, like perishable items, fruits, vegetables, and bread and things like that. But if we are not careful, you can easily run up to 5,000 if you have a family. So for housing, close to 2,500. And you have a car, you have to think about paying your insurance, buying gas. That can easily be $300, $400 a month. For groceries, and you don't even have to eat a lot to have a high grocery bill.
Easy.
Easily close to $1,000.
Oh,
Easily. And that's if you try to shop at places that give you value for your money. You use selection brands, store brands, like No Name if it's a real Canadian superstore.
and even
or
No Name
Frills.
expensive
And
right
even
now.
No Name is getting expensive. So try and not spend too much. For childcare, we don't spend anything on childcare right now, simply because my husband still has his job at night.
Okay.
So when I'm working from home, thank God, he wakes up and goes for my son. I think because I can't drive or I don't have a license here, but that's on me. So he goes for my son, and when my son comes home, my husband might go back to sleep or just wants a little time for himself.
Right.
So trying to keep my son engaged, trying to keep him from preventing me from doing my work. But it saves us because we don't have to spend that amount on childcare. And don't even ask me what's the cost because I don't know. Since
Well,
he
I
has
do.
been here, since he has been here, we haven't had that childcare expense because we don't utilize it. Not that we don't want to, because we were even attempting to find daycare for him. Just because my husband is considering changing his job, he wants
Okay.
to do a day job. And that has not been going well, so we kind of put that on the back burner for a bit. What else? In general, I think that's it.
Yeah, it can be very, very expensive.
Yes.
And again, especially housing. So if it's possible for you, it's important to live outside of the city.
Yeah.
So in the Vancouver region, the Metro Vancouver area, you have Vancouver, you have places like Coquitlam, Burnaby, Richmond, right? The closer you are to Vancouver, the more expensive your rent might be. And depending on the dwelling that you're in, apartments typically are a bit more expensive than maybe like a basement or something like that.
Yeah.
I am in Surrey, and our rent is around $1,750. Our food bill, honestly, not even one more. I think it's probably around maybe 700-800 per month. And then childcare, that's another story. Maybe between 5 to 1,000, depending on if you're getting subsidy or whatever the case may be. And then your general miscellaneous as well. So it's something to look forward to when you're coming to Canada, right? So PR, something a lot of people, as I mentioned in the intro of the video, finding very difficult these days in Canada. we've seen news where people have to go back home
Yeah.
because they are out of status and them PR no come through. You know, all these kind of things. And you're PR, right? You got
Yes.
PR in like around 2 years.
What? Oh, yes, about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's lit. That's really good. What was the process like?
Well, I think the process was one of the most challenging I've ever had to encounter, filled with anxiety, filled with moments of feeling like it's never going to work out. But I remained with hope in God. I'm a Christian, so that's what I had to rely on mostly. I prayed a lot, I fasted a lot, I cried a lot. I did. Because I was the main person that did everything for my family in terms of applications for immigration. And it was a lot of times reality struck that maybe you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time researching, reading to ensure that I am doing the right thing. I reached out to a consultant, a lawyer, and he helped a lot to kind of get things into perspective for me. Questions I had that I couldn't find answers to online, he was able to answer. I reached out to people that I knew that went through the process before me, and they were able to encourage me. We almost didn't submit our application for permanent residency after getting the nomination from the BC PNP, the Provincial Nomination Program, simply because we were a little hesitant. We didn't have the proof of funds that generally you hear that you need to have. And there was a little bit of misinformation because we were being told that although he had close to 2 years of Canadian work experience, we did not get the invitation to apply on the Canadian experience class. We got it under the Provincial Nomination Program. So we thought that we had to show proof of funds, in which technically you do, but it depends on the stream that you got nominated under for the BC PNP program. And that stream, because my husband's job is a tech job, an in-demand job, we found out that we didn't have to show the proof of funds.
Okay.
So we almost didn't submit
So
it.
everybody listening right now know which industry they need to get in. Right?
Yes, definitely. Look for the in-demand occupations and try to get in if you have the qualifications. And for him, he didn't need it requires engineering background. He didn't have that, but luckily he has or had IT experience and qualifications, so that helped him, right?
That's good.
But the PR process, it was 2 applications we had to do because we did the application for the BC PNP program, which we got that nomination, and then we had to apply through express entry. So it was 2 periods of stress. And maybe I could say 3 because I tried on my own, but then his application got processed quicker.
Okay.
And we decided, okay, mine is taking too long. I then got questions from the BC PNP officer asking me to show proof of something I was claiming in my application. So it's important to make sure everything is done properly in your application. You have the right information, you have the right documents to show all that you need to show that you're eligible for the program. But after we did the nomination application for my husband, in like 2 days after we resubmitted his profile, we got the invitation to apply. Within 3 weeks, we submitted the documents. So in 6 or so weeks, we got the nomination, then applied for PR in 2 months. We had a delay because we were moving and we didn't submit everything in the time that we wanted to, but it all worked out. Submitted our PR application on May 1, and by June 7th, we got that golden email.
The golden email.
And this was 2023. So we got that golden email to say, you are now permanent residents
That's
of
awesome.
Canada. And it was, I didn't know how to react. I'm like, all right, one process down, another one to go learn about, which is the citizenship application process. So
you're getting there. Because I mean that's the end goal, right? You're getting there. That's good though. Again, congrats.
Thank you.
You know, because that's what most of us after going through school and we decide that we're going to stay in Canada, that's the next step to get PR, right? And it's definitely not an easy process. It takes a lot of reading. You mentioned that you reach out to a consultant.
Right, an immigration lawyer.
Immigration lawyer.
Yeah.
What lawyer feel like?
Well, I didn't pay it.
Whoa. All right,
All
I'll
right.
go
No,
move
no,
on.
no. I didn't use his services to that
Okay.
extent. So that's what I meant.
Okay.
But what helped is that he had a course that taught you, it basically spoon feeds you about the process, what you need to do, just at the very thought of considering applying
okay. That's good.
for express entry. So step by step videos on how to do the the express entry profile, documents that you need to get, how your letter of your employer verification or reference letter should be, the things that need to be in it, the different points, how to go and fill in the application for the permanent residency part, all of that. So it was a very comprehensive course that easily you could do the process on your own. But because we did BC PNP, that wasn't the focus of the program. And they kept saying, you need to show proof of funds.
Gotcha.
If once you're not Canadian experience class or whatever it is, that kind of threw us off a bit. And we heard stories of somebody that didn't have any money, maybe hardly could have even found the application fee. They didn't show any proof of funds, and they got the PR. So we said, okay, based on that story, based on the information we eventually got, we said, okay, let's proceed. We did show proof of funds, but not the amount that we would have had to show under normal circumstances for the 3 people in a family, based on IRCC's guidelines and recommendations for the amount of money that we should have. But we did state he qualified under CEC, although he wasn't invited under CEC. We showed that for the BC PNP program, there is a threshold that you have to meet for how many people in your family were in BC you're living. We met that because it's a combined annual salary from him and myself. So we surpassed the minimum amount.
Okay.
And we showed that as evidence. This is the link. This is what the information on the website said. And we showed what we had at the time. That's bank statements and whatever notice of assessment. That's from CRA, Canada Revenue Agency, to show that we worked in 2022 and we paid taxes and all of that. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That course that you mentioned, is there like a fee associated?
Yes.
What's the fee like?
I don't want to lie because I don't remember figures well, but I
Okay.
think it was like 300 or 400 and something US.
Okay.
So it was an investment. It was an
Right.
opportunity cost. It was a cost that was necessary because it put me at ease. I'm not saying that you can't get to your permanent residency without doing that course.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
But that course was very comprehensive. It had so much information, hours and top of hours of videos explaining, going into different scenarios. it really helped, and I felt more comfortable having done that course than if I was just doing it on my own, because I found so many errors in my application because I did the express entry profiles before doing the course.
Oh, okay.
And it was a mess. I had to explain and fix so many things. I had to write so many letters to fix errors that were in the application that weren't fixed before we got the invitation to apply, to fix things that we didn't know was necessary, answers to questions in previous applications that were wrong.
Interesting. So I know what my next investment is. I mean, we're not we're not marketing this course.
No.
But if it's a material that can help others to streamline their process, then it's worth mentioning, right?
It is.
So maybe we can link to that course in the bio of this video. So JISA, Jamaica International Student Association. You were the founder of this group.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No,
Okay, but you play a major role in this group. You're always always there, willing to help people, willing to answer questions from the different students in the group. Yes. That group has probably over 150 members now, maybe somewhere there about.
Close to 150.
Okay.
Yeah.
What gives you the drive to help so much, to say the least? Because you're always willing, like as a question comes in, you're there, and to me, you go above and beyond. So, where is that coming from?
Simply because I was helped in the past.
Yep.
And just to clarify, I was one of maybe the second or the third person to be added to that group. So that's where it came from. The person that created the group left, and I just felt that we had to keep it going because we saw the benefit of that community, we call it, to people that were left in the WhatsApp group. We supported each other by sharing information. When persons got refused for their study permit application, we cried with them. When they got approved, we cheered with them, we celebrated with them. So I felt that it was important to continue that because so many persons, the people that were in the group from for almost 2 years now, can attest to the fact that it was beneficial because we shared information about instructors that you should choose, those you should avoid. We also share information about the different processes, maybe different things that you can do to find a job, or maybe a company that you can look to get hired by. We share information about after you finish school, the post-graduation work permit process, how to apply, if you want to go to the border, do you recommend going to the border or not? So many information we share. And just everyday living, being here as an international student, being here as a temporary worker, and eventually help to guide general information because we're not immigration consultants or licensed or educated to do those things. So we just try to help as best as we can, share our experiences, which may not always be positive, but the focus or the aim is to focus on the positive aspects. And even for whatever might not have been a good experience for people, just to share it in a way that doesn't scare people.
I love how you bring that out.
Just to share it in a way that doesn't scare people and doesn't say, you can't make it. I am going through a struggle, don't even bother come, or whatever it is. That's not what we are about or what we intend to be about. So it's just to share our experiences and guide people as best as we can. Guide them to the right sources.
Trust me, it's a really good group. I don't even want to use the word group because it's more like a community. With very, very helpful people. And I always say that information is the most important thing, and that's what you can get from the group. Because if you don't have the information, we see that it can cost you upwards of $300. Right? So having people around who already been through what you are looking to go through right now or what you're looking to get done, and you can just shoot them a message and they respond to you in real time telling you how you can navigate certain things. That's really good, so that's nice. If I had a group like that before I came here, it would have saved me a lot of money. Because when I came here, I was at an Airbnb for like almost 3 weeks, somewhere there about, and that run me almost maybe $2,000, right? And I've seen persons in Jamaica sending message in the group saying, "Hey, can you check out this place for me?" Right?
Doing viewings for people.
Right, and you can go and say, "Hey, look legit in our boy, look good, look like one of them, one of them boy." They so so that's really good. That's really good. Maybe we can, receive them from persons in Jamaica or Jamaica, if they are already in the process and coming to Canada soon. Especially BC. And if there's any question or anything that we can help with, then we definitely will.
Of course.
Yeah, that's nice. Tell me a few things that you would have done differently if you were coming to Canada today with the knowledge that you have right now.
Oh, I think that's a very tough question. So with the knowledge that I have now, I definitely would do a few things differently, and it's hard to have them pop out of my mind like that.
Right.
But maybe the city? I don't know. I don't know if I would have chosen to come to Vancouver, even though I knew. I can't say I didn't know, because it was public knowledge that Vancouver is one of the most expensive cities. I think I was just met with an opportunity, and I'm like, oh, although Vancouver is expensive, I will try and see how things work out. But if I got the opportunity to choose a different province to go to, I definitely would, because of several different things. The housing is the most important thing. Being in a province that is oversaturated, you would call.
Right, yep.
It's hard. It's more competition to get a job. More competition for so many things, even childcare. And that's the challenge that we're facing right now, where we can't even find somewhere that's close to school, because if you want like even aftercare or before and aftercare, that facility would have to take your child to school after you drop them off there, pick up the child from school, take them back there, and then you go and pick them up. We can't even find childcare facility that's close, that picks up from his school. So that is definitely something that we would have done differently. I can't say I would change the program that I did, because I felt like it was very beneficial. And I believe that it is something that is setting me up for even greater things that might come. And I'm looking forward to that. I think that's the general.
Yeah, those are some very good points, I definitely would have gone to a different province or maybe a different city.
Maybe rural. Rural
because
BC.
Vancouver is mad expensive. You mentioned the competition for housing, the competition for jobs, also healthcare. It's very difficult here to get a family doctor. Right, so that's something. I probably would have gone with a different program as well, because now we're here and we see exactly who is getting employed, right? We know that tech and healthcare are some very, very big and in-demand industry or career fields here. So I probably would have done that.
Something in that that field.
Differently. Right. I mean, it's not a must, because then again, it all depends on what your educational background is already. So if you weren't a nurse before, or if you never studied nursing before, then it's going to be challenging for you to get into a nursing program here. But still, there are means and ways to navigate, and figure out things. So there's that. A couple more things I probably would have done differently, but maybe that's for another video, right? Tell the people them why them for still come Canada. If you're in Jamaica right now and weighing your mind, you've been hearing all the negativities about Canada,
Yeah.
you know, all these things. Tell them why them supposed to for still come same way, like 2023. Why am I forgot? Why am I for live good Jamaica?
And still come.
Eh? Sea and sun, and still come to Canada in the freezer. Tell them.
I think this is, I don't even know. It's going against what I would want to say, and the video that I'm going to make later
okay.
on. That is to say, if you're not ready, don't come. Simply because ready in terms of financial resources, ready in terms of knowing what your goal and your plans to get to that goal, what those goals are. But I would say still come, because there are opportunities for you to grow, opportunities that you might not have back in Jamaica if we're talking to just Jamaicans. A lot of benefits are here, and most of them are when you eventually become permanent residents. But in my view, being in Jamaica, even the childcare benefits that we get on a monthly basis, nobody, and I repeat, nobody would take that amount and give it to us on a monthly basis. Not saying come here for childcare benefits, no. But there are resources that are available to you that might not be available in Jamaica. I think those are the main two things. And yes, everywhere has crime and violence, but I think Canada is safer, especially now. You might hear the different things on a daily basis, and sometimes you don't even hear it. But I have not been affected in that way since I've been here. I feel more safe being here than I felt when I was back home. So even if it's just for those things, I would say still come, but come prepared, come having money. Definitely.
Come with your money.
Come with your money.
Yeah.
Do your research before you come here, and don't come with unrealistic expectations, because if you do, you might be disappointed. And there's so much more that I can say on that, but I think I'll leave it there.
I don't have anything else to add. That's it. That was really good. Nicola, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was definitely good, and that's what we're about, sharing information with persons who are coming here after us. Because when we were getting started, we never really have this. Yes, YouTube videos, you know, there and all that kind of thing, but like have somebody who is coming exactly where you're coming from,
right?
That's that's very important. So that's it for us. And thank you guys for joining, and I guess we'll see you in a, well, not guess, make sure to come back, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon. Thank you.